Hi friends, welcome to vlearn IAS. First of all, I wish you all a happy Independence Day. So today which completes the 75 years of our freedom on August 2022. So just a glorious 75 years the country has faced. There are so many challenges we have faced. There are so many victory we have achieved. Likewise, anyhow our country has been in the foremost stand of democracy since then. Many countries follow us as a role model in democracy. So this is a great achievement, and on this day we will remember all our freedom fighters, constitutional makers, and everybody. Hope this glory will again move forward for many centuries, and coming years we as civil service aspirants can do lot of things. We are budding aspirants. We must know the challenges the country is facing. We must have a vision for the work that we have in future. So on this background, I welcome you all for today's editorial and news discussion dated 15th August 2022. Okay, let's start the discussion. So let's look into what is the first news for today's discussion. As we know, we are celebrating our Independence Day. We will look into the some of the historical aspects of our freedom struggle, especially the roundtable conference and everything. Okay, so we are discussing about the second roundtable conference. So what is the background? Look, one thing, this is a historical event which is of very much significance in our freedom struggle. Okay, whenever an event is asked, we must look into the significance of that event according to various stakeholders. For example, we have freedom fighters in various sections. Example, moderates, extremists, women, etc. How significant it is to them. Then we will have a regional approach, whichever regional this event has influenced, how it has participated. And in this regional approach itself, we have two things. One is one is our national level, and another one is global level. So each itself have a national and global level impact. And final most thing is that whenever an event question is asked, you must end it with a significance or its legacy to the current times. Okay. So on this background, let's look into the second roundtable conference. The second roundtable conference was held in London. So it is an important aspect. It was held in London, not in India. And the date is from 7 September 1931 to 1st December 1931, with the participation of Gandhi and Indian National Congress. So Gandhiji and Indian National Congress members also participated in this second roundtable conference. The 2 weeks before the conference convened, the Labour government have been replaced by Conservatives. So in Britain, there are mainly two parties that are competing each other. One is Labour Party and another one is Conservative Party. So this Labour parties always uphold the values of collectivism, gives importance to labour welfare, etc. At the same time, this Conservative Party mainly look upon the conservative values that exist in the British society. Okay, so 2 weeks before the second roundtable conference took place, the Labour Party was changed with Conservative Party. As a part of Gandhi-Irving Pact, Gandhi agrees to suspend the civil disobedience movement and participate in the next roundtable conference. So before this conference started, there was a Gandhi-Irving Pact that took place in India, and after that Gandhi-Irving Pact, Gandhiji agreed to participate in the second roundtable conference. So let's look into who are the participants in the second roundtable conference. So I already told that there will be several sections that are participating in an event. So these are several sections that have influenced by second roundtable conference. First is Indian states. which are members from princely state, and the part of the state which are under British control, and government of India. As a part of government of India, these people have participated in the second roundtable conference, Indian National Congress. So Mahatma Gandhi was the sole representative. It is very important. Mahatma Gandhi was the sole representative of the Congress in second roundtable conference. Then Muslim sections were there, Hindus, depressed class. Also looking at B.R. Ambedkar was a representative from depressed class. Indian Christians were there and women. From the women section, the main participants were Sarojini Naidu, Radhabai Subbarai, Begum Jahanara Shanavas. Please take note of these eminent persons. We might be asking prelims questions. Okay. So, how the proceedings taken place? There were three major differences between the first and second roundtable conference. So, let's look into what are the major difference between this first and second roundtable conference. So, when we look into the major difference between first and second roundtable conference, one of the major difference or striking difference is the participation of Congress. This will happen after the post-Gandhi-Irvin Pact. So Gandhiji was appointed as sole representative of Congress in the second roundtable Congress, and also Gandhiji claimed that Congress alone represented the political India, and untouchables and Hindus should not be treated as minority, and there should not be any separate electorate for them. So this was against some of the beliefs of certain other sections of the society that strongly opposed Gandhi's view. It was post this Gandhi-Irvin Pact that Gandhi agreed to participate in the second roundtable Congress, so he called off civil disobedience movement, and he demanded to have prisoners of British to be freed, except criminal prisoners. But nothing happened to that. He had to return India disappointed with empty-handed. So this was a major part of Congress representation in the second roundtable conference. So another second aspect is change in government in England. So at the time of Gandhi Irvin Pact, the major government was Labour government. But at the time of this conference, second roundtable conference, this Labour government has fallen and Conservative government has been formed, and Ramsay MacDonald now headed the national government governed by Conservative Party. And financial crisis. So Britain switched into a golden standard, further distracting the national government. So earlier this pound, which was pegged to sterling, switched to gold standard. So the government had to have gold reserve much in order to have a value to their currency. And also another important aspect is that Ramsay MacDonald extended this communal award to minority representation also. B.R. Ambedkar and others demanded for a separate electorate post this second conference. But in an agreement with B.R. Ambedkar, Gandhiji agreed to call off this demand. And this famous agreement is known as Pune Pact 1932. So in Pune Pact, Gandhiji and Mahatma Gandhiji and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar came into an agreement to do not have a separate electorate for the Harijans. So why did not that much was expected from second roundtable conference? First and foremost is that Gandhiji agreed to be participated in the second roundtable conference under the promise of Lord Irwin. But post this conference, he was replaced by Lord Wellington as Viceroy of India. So, and also there was a change in government, which was from Labour Party to National Government in England also. So the ideologies and values of this government was very different from that of Labour Party. And also British was angered by the increasing revolutionary activities in India, especially the rise of communist and Bengal revolutionary activities were the major pull of things during this period. At the conference, Gandhiji claimed to represent all of India against imperialism, but this was against the view of all. So all the sections were not in a consensus, or all the stakeholders were not in a consensus post this conference. So So and then let's look into what are the major outcome or what outcome we achieved from this second roundtable conference. So these are the major important outcome. First one is we had a two Muslim majority provinces post this. One is Northwest Frontier Province and other is Sindh. Then setting up of an Indian consultative committee. Then setting up of three expert committees like finance, franchise and states. And the prospect of a unilateral British communal award if Indians failed to agree. So a prospect was given to give British communal award if the Indians were failed to agree. Government also refused the India's demand for freedom. So overall, for India concerned, in the second roundtable conference didn't bring much impact to in India's demands. So this was the major outcome of second roundtable conference. So now let's look into second news for today's discussion. So next news is about asymmetric federalism in India. So when looking into asymmetric federalism, first of all, we must look into what you mean by asymmetric federalism. So a federalism which is based on unequal powers and relationship in political and administrative fiscal arrangements between the units constituting the federation. That means there is a center and we have several small units as said in a polity system. And what are the major the sharing of powers? First is in the form of political power. Second is in the form of administrative power. And third is in the form of financial. Okay, so when we will say that there is a symmetric federalism when all these states share equal amount of this political and financial administrative sharing between the center, but when there is an unequal distribution of power in these three heads from center and state, then it is known as asymmetric federalism. So it means different constituent states possess different powers, and one or more of the states are considerably more independent than the others. The division of power is not asymmetric. So this is the main key. A setup in which division of power is not symmetric. This is known as asymmetric federalism. So in India, how this asymmetric federalism is manifested? First and foremost is special position of Kashmir. So you know already the fragile location of Kashmir in our north, and we have two very vulnerable border sharing countries like with China and Pakistan. So special status had to be given for gaining the trust of people in Pakistan. So Article 370 of the Constitution was such a provision which maintained an asymmetric relationship with Pakistan. Asymmetric relationship with Kashmir. And northeastern hill states. You know that northeastern hill states is a very much emotive part of our country. They are from long time onwards they feel alien due to connectivity problem, and also their ethnic and cultural mosaic is very much different to mainstream. So there are certain provisions in the constitution which give special status to several states in the northeast, especially the Article 371 provides special powers for northeastern states. This is also an example for asymmetric federalism. So then what is important, then why such a provisions are there in the constitution? First and foremost is it helps to secure right. This special provision help in protecting the fundamental rights and compensate for initial inequalities in the social society. For example, if in Northeast there are not that much protection given to their culture or tribal people, they won't get their rights safeguarded. So in order to secure their rights, such a asymmetric relationship is very much essential. Social justice allows to separate law to govern different religions, group, provisions of various kinds of affirmative action. That means diversity is an important aspect of our country. So in order to maintain a unity among the diversity and help in maintaining social justice, it is very much essential to have an asymmetric federalism in our country. Also ensure unity in diversity, satisfy different needs. Since we are culturally, geographically physiographically and is very much diverse in almost all aspects. So we may have different needs. People in our country have different needs also. In order to satisfy these needs, it is very much essential to maintain this asymmetric nature. Then reduce radicalization. This is very much important for Kashmir. In Kashmir, there is a huge problem of insurgency and other aspects. So in order to reduce this radicalization, it is very much essential. It is very much essential to have a symmetric framework between India, between central and constituent states. The better representation of democracy. It will help in providing representation to minority areas with less population, providing them with justice. For example, scheduled provisions in our constitution, which help in much more representation of minority people within the political system. So, whenever we conclude such a political or a constitutional value, we must always conclude why such a value is very much essential, such an arrangement is very much essential. So in India, there is a lot of inequality between the states, mainly between the regions and also within the states. So it is very much essential to recognize this inequality within the constitutional framework. Thus, this asymmetric federalism arrangement will help in solving this problem and will recognize this inequality within the constitutional framework. This was all about that news. Now let's look at the next news for today's discussion. So next news is about local government. So what is a contest? The management of local affairs by such local bodies who have been elected by local people is known as local self-government. So what do you mean by local government? It is a management of local affairs. That means an affair which is in the local level, managed by such local bodies elected by local people, is known as local self-government. So in Constitution, they got recognition by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992, which helped to build democracy at the grassroots level and was entrusted with the task of rural development. So this 73rd Constitution Amendment mainly had two things. One is democracy to the grassroots level and also task of rural development. But after the Constitution came into force, mainly the Article 40 of DPSP, that is Directive Principle of State Policy, have a mention about panchayats. And also Article 246 empowers state legislature to legislate with respect to subject of local self-government. So in prelims there might be some questions on which articles mentions local self-government. So Article 40 and Article 246 have a mention about local self-government. Okay, please take care of it. So let us look into the evolution of Panchayati Raj institution. So first committee which recommended was Ashok Mehta Committee in 1977. It recommended for two-tier Panchayat Raj institution. That means on the first level, which is Sila Parishad, and on the another level which is Mandal Parishad. Then M. Singhvi Committee in 1986, which made demanded for more devolution of financial resources and constitutional status for panchayats. In 1985, V. K. Rao Committee recommended making district as the basic unit of planning. That means now at the local level there are ward, panchayat, etc. But this committee recommended it to be district. And finally, it all melted to the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment in 1992. It was passed by Parliament. Through this amendment, local self-governance was introduced in both rural and urban India. So thus, by this Constitutional Amendment Act, local self-government was introduced in both rural and urban India. So let's look into what are the salient features of 73rd and 74th Amendments. This is very much important. Every year, one or two questions for prelims comes from this part, especially local self-government. This is why because majority of the bureaucrats after the training go to this local self-governments for their further work. So it is very much essential. So what is the salient features? Salient features of 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment. First of all, it added two new parts, that is Part 9. So Part 9 was titled as the Panchayat by 73rd Amendment and Part 9A, which was titled as Municipalities by the 74th Amendment. Thus, the basic unit of democratic system became as the Gram Sabha villages and ward committees in urban areas, that is municipalities. And there should be three-tier system of villages, and in which in the lower level there is a village, then intermediate block, mandal, taluk, then district level, expecting states below 20 lakh population. It mainly mentions in Article 243b. Seats at all levels to be filled by direct election. Article 243c Clause 2. Seat reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, and chairperson of the panchayat at all levels shall be reserved for SC and ST of their population. That means for SC and ST in a reserved area, their seats should be reserved according to their population. Then 1/3 of the total number of seats should be reserved for women, which is very much mandatory. And there is a provision for women empowerment also. Then 1/3 for the seat of reserved for SC and ST are also reserved for women. So within the SC and ST reservation also, this 1/3 seat is reserved for women. The 1/3 of the office of chairperson are at all levels are reserved for women. That means in a chairperson post also 1/3 of the position is reserved for women. It comes in Article 243d. The uniform 5-year term of election should constitute new bodies to be completed before the expiry of the term. An independent election commission in each state should supervise, direct, and control the electoral roll. Panchayat has to prepare plans for economic development and social justice in respective subjects involved for the Panchayat as illustrated in the 11th schedule. That means Panchayat itself look into their planning and evolution or their demands. So it is a bottom-up approach which is usually maintained by the 73rd Constitutional Amendment. Then budgetary allocation to this panchayat is given according to recommendation by Finance Commission. So 11th schedule of the Constitution places as much as 29 functions within panchayat raj bodies. So these are important salient features. So in the 11th schedule, let us look at what are the major functional items on which item these functions are carried out. First is agriculture, which also include agriculture expansion. Then land improvement, implementation of land reforms, consolidation, soil conservation. Animal husbandry, fisheries also important, minor irrigation, water management, watershed development, social forestry and farm forestry. Okay. Then small scale industry like food processing, minor forest produce, safe water for drinking, khadi and village cottage industries, rural housing, fuel and fodder, rural electrification including distribution of electricity, road, bridges, ferries, waterways, etc. So 11th schedule again consider items like education. So education is also there in the 11th schedule. Non-conventional source of energy, technical training, vocational education, adult and non-formal education, public distribution system is also there in the 11th schedule. Maintenance of community asset. Also welfare of weaker sections, social welfare, family welfare, women and child development, market and fairs, cultural activities, libraries and poverty alleviation program is also part of this functional item. Now comes an important aspect of PESA, which is also known as Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas. So this act was passed by Parliament for what? In order to ensure self-governance in scheduled area. So where is the scheduled area mentioned? It is mainly mentioned 5th and 6th schedule of our constitution. So in this area they are given more autonomy. So in order to extend these provisions of Panchayati Raj, this act was passed. This is because 73rd Constitutional Amendment does not apply to this scheduled area. So scheduled areas are mainly referred in Article 244 of our Constitution. Very much important. Scheduled area has a mention in Article 244 of our Constitution. The provision of this PESA Act. First of all, state legislation on panchayats shall recognize their customary law, social and religious practice. That means if a state passes a law into a scheduled area, they must recognize their customs, social and religious practice. So then what are the main functions of Gram Sabha? State legislation shall recognize their customary law, social and religious practices, selection and identification of beneficiary under poverty alleviation program. Rama Sabha shall be competent to safeguard and preserve traditions, customs of people, their cultural identity and community reserve. So Gram Sabha is more empowered according to PESA Act. Okay. And certificate for utilization of fund, restoration of seats in proportion to the population of community. Gram Sabha or Panchayat appropriate level consulted before acquisition of land. Development progress. So it is always a bottom-up approach in decision making. So now let's look into the important provisions of the PESA Act. The first and foremost important provisions in the PESA Act is planning and management of minor water bodies. Thus, planning and regulating these minor water bodies are important provisions of the PESA Act. Then comes granting license, especially to the minor minerals and exploitation of minor minerals. And so they has a power to enforce prohibition, regulation, restrict sale of consumption of intoxicant. Then on minor forest produce, alienation of land in scheduled areas, village market, and control over money lending to scheduled tribes. So these are important functions under this act. Now just look into this urban part of this law of self-government. What about urban government? First and foremost, municipal corporation. So it mainly looks into administration of big cities, that is cities where the population is greater than 10 lakhs, established by the act of state legislature. So what are the major authorities in this urban government? One is municipal council, which has elected members in deliberative legislative wing headed by a mayor. So municipal council is headed by a mayor. Then comes a standing committee, which facilitates the functioning of the council to deal with public works. Then comes municipal commissioner, that is authority which implements the decision taken by the council. So this municipal council, which under the leadership of mayor take up the decision. So it is implemented by municipal commissioner, who is mainly an IAS officer. Okay. Then administration of towns and smaller cities set up by act of legislature and act of parliaments. These are the municipality area. That means an area which is smaller than municipal corporation. It also has the same structure of governance except the naming, where the commissioner changes to chief executive officer for day-to-day administration appointed by state government. Then comes notified area committee. Why such a name? Because it is established by a notification of official government gazette. Either a fast developing town or town entity to fulfill the condition necessary for the constitution of municipality. So what are the important functions? So under the framework of State Municipality Act, other functions may also be entrusted. So different from municipality, as notified areas, all members are nominated. So here there is no elected members. All members are nominated. It is a very important point to be remembered. Now comes Town Area Committee. It is also established by an act of state legislature. So it is a statutory one. Especially for small towns and limited civic functions are carried out. Example, drainage, roads and street lighting, etc. Completely elected or nominated, or partly elected nominated. So it has a completely elected or nominated, or partly elected or nominated members will be there. Then comes Cantonment Board. So Cantonment Board is a statutory body which is established by an act of parliament. It is mainly for civil administration of cantonment area. That means area which comes within cantonment. That means under military administration. So it comes under the Ministry of Defence. It also has a partly elected and nominated members. Military commanding officer is a ex officio president. Who is the ex officio president? Military commanding officer. So executive officer is appointed by whom? President. Very much important. It is not state legislature. It is president who appoints the executive officer and who executes the decision. Example, Indian Defence Estate Service. So mainly civil servants from these services are appointed here. Okay, now different type of urban governments like township, industrial establishment providing civic amenities. These are known as townships. Then port trust, that is major port created by the Act of Parliament. Both elected and nominated members will be there. Then special purpose agency. These are function based, not area based. It's an important one. Function based and established by an act of state legislature or executive resolution as well. Okay, these are different type of urban government. One is township, which consists of industrial establishment which provides civic amenity. That means in certain area there will be an industries located there. So people who are working here with families, they should have an civic amenities surrounding that. So it is provided. These civic amenities provided by the township area. Then similar to the port trust and also special purpose agency. So this is the overall structure of our government system of our polity. So in topmost level we have union government. Then followed power and everything devolved to state government. From state government to local self-government. First local self-government we know that according to population there are two types of local self-government. One is panchayat, another is nagarpalika. So panchayat again there is district panchayat, intermediate and village. There is municipal corporation, municipal council and nagar panchayat. Okay. So this is all for the discussion of that news. And let's look into next news for today's discussion. So next news is about judiciary. So what is the coming Chief Justice of India saying that the ratio of women judges has risen considerably. So it is a very important achievement, since appointment of women judges into higher judiciary will have a balanced view in overall judgment. Okay, so this is a small news regarding to that. So women find judicial career acceptable. So more and more women will be attracted to this judicial career, which itself helps to empower women both socially, financially, and politically also. They will be more aware about their rights and what are the laws that are helping to provide them. So this is all for today's discussion. Hope you have enjoyed the discussion. So please subscribe to our channel for the future updates. Thank you so much.